Hey there, my name is John Lynch, and I am doing 365 days of alternate day fasting, and today is day 93. So that means we've finished month 3, and today is results day. Now I want to go over my experiences, what I learned, and all my results. Before I start, I want to thank all the new people that have joined my channel, subscribers, all the people that are commenting. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun for me. One thing that I've just noticed is that compared to the methods I've used to lose weight in the past, this is actually one of the slowest that I've ever lost weight with, I think. It can be a bit hard to judge. I have definitely lost more weight in a shorter time period before, but at the same time, this has already gone on longer than any diet I've ever done. I figure that in the long run, this is going to do much better. One thing that's come to me that I'd like to acknowledge in this video is that my overall dream, my dream goal is becoming more and more real and more solid. When I started the journey, I was just really desperate to have a change. I was physically in such a bad place. Picking this time period of a year with a program where I don't eat every other day was a bit of a Hail Mary for me. This YouTube channel was so I could document, but also I really wanted to have some sort of accountability, something to keep me doing it. This month, I've just realized that I'm starting to actually believe it. Not that I can lose a bit of weight, I've done that before. I'm starting to really think that I can actually get to my healthy goal weight, and if I do it in this way, then there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to maintain it. One of the things that happens when you gain a lot of weight and have had a bunch of attempts to lose it that haven't worked out in the long term is that you start to give up any hope. When things just don't really work long term, it becomes a matter of why even try? You stop believing that it's even possible, and so why take any action? I've been telling myself this is possible all through this, and part of what has been so good about it is that I've never tried something like this before, so it's a new one for me. Now that we're this far in, I can actually start to see that it really is possible. I mean, it was a dream before, and now it's becoming more of a reality. At the end of month 3, I have just reached that point in weight loss where I have lost enough weight that I'm starting to feel fat, but in a different way. You know, before I was just really solid and couldn't move, and now I can feel the fat on me, and so I feel just as fat, but it's different. I don't know if you've had that kind of experience before in a diet, but it's one I've seen before. At the same time as this, I feel totally different in my body from when I started this. I especially notice this in walking, where I'm walking along and I feel lighter, which is an amazing feeling for me. So after 3 months, I haven't yet equaled my biggest weight losses of things I've done in the past, but what gives me confidence is that this still feels really fresh to me. I don't feel like I'm at the end of my rope, that I'm just like dying to finish. It feels fine, which is what I could have only hoped would have happened when I started this, but I'm so glad that it actually has happened. The mental part of this is really quite easy. I don't have to gear myself up to do this, which is how diets have been sometimes for me in the past. This is really refreshing and encouraging. The key is that I haven't cut out any specific types of food from my diet. That is the whole difference for me. Here's a psychological thing that happens. I don't know if you've experienced this, but there is this thing when your brain normalizes becoming overweight. I've seen it a couple ways. One thing that happens is that you gain weight, you feel heavier, and it's a bit upsetting when it first happens, but slowly over time, that heavier state becomes just the new normal to you. And then second thing that happens is you lose some weight, like you're feeling bad, you want to lose some weight, and you do. But as it drops off quickly, you start to think, wow, I'm doing really great here. This is fine. I don't need to do any more. And you kind of lose that motivation, that urgency to lose weight. Next thing you know, you've fallen off your plan and you're gaining that weight back again. While doing alternate day fasting, that has not been the case for me so far. Intellectually, I know that I've lost some weight. Sure, I still have a long way to go, but there have been some changes that have happened for me. I know they have, but at the same time, it also kind of feels like nothing has happened so far. I know that there have been changes, but at the same time, it kind of feels like nothing has changed. I never have a time where I look in the mirror and I think, oh wow, you look so much better. To me, I look exactly the same as I did when I started this. Slightly different, but really not much. Weirdly, I take that as a really positive sign. I'm hoping that what's happening is that as I'm losing weight a little bit slower than I was doing stuff before, that I'm maybe normalizing my weight downwards. I hope that's the case. That would be great. 3 months of fasting are over, and what's really funny is that each month has been so different from the other ones. The first month, I did lose a lot of weight quite quickly, but I had very, very little energy through that month. Then in month 2, I started to drink some coffee, and my energy skyrocketed, but my weight loss slowed up a little bit. Now, month 3 started with a good 2 weeks plus of no weight loss for me, just this really long plateau. And that was so discouraging for me. I was even getting to the point where I was starting to think about doing 2 not-eating days in a row to start getting some results again. Luckily, it didn't come to that. In the end, the adjustment that I made was that on my eating days, I would have a cutoff time of 10 p.m. Once I made the adjustment to not eat after 10 p.m., then I ended up losing more weight in month 3 than I did in month 2, all in the second half of the month. So I'm really glad that all I had to do was at a stop eating time. In month 3, my energy has dropped off a bit compared to month 2. Not nearly as bad as it was in month 1, but it is noticeable. So these 3 months have been a real roller coaster ride for me. I feel really good about going into month 4. I feel I've worked out a lot of stuff so far. I feel losing weight's on track, and I expect this to be a really good one. I got a comment recently about whether I took electrolytes, which I hadn't and really didn't know a lot about. In the first month, I would sometimes eat sea salt just to try and help with headaches that I was having. But once the headaches went away, I basically stopped. Right now, I'm pretty happy with my fasting regime, except for wanting more energy. Energy is my month 4 project. What I've done is I've ordered some high-end electrolytes, and they haven't come yet, so I've just started with some that I could quickly buy from my local health food store. And I just want to see if they make a difference. If I can jump up my energy so that I have a consistently high energy level, then I'm going to be so happy. We'll really, really be cooking with gas then. So let's get to the numbers, the results for the month. I lost inches pretty much everywhere this month. A tiny bit off my neck, about an inch off of each of my arms, an inch off my chest, an inch off my stomach, 2 inches off my waist, and an inch off my butt. So for the 3 months, that works to be 2 inches off my neck, 2.5 to 3 inches off of each of my arms, 2 inches off my chest, 4.5 inches off my stomach, over 4 inches off my waist, 4 inches off my butt, and about an inch off of each leg. So I know there's a lot that's come off, though to me, I don't see a huge amount of difference. Personally, I'm really desperate to get rid of this pregnant belly that I have, but it looks like that's something that's going to be around for a while. It's going to be probably one of the last areas that will go. In month 3, I've lost 10 pounds, which is 2 pounds more than month 2, and basically they all came off in the last 10 days, which is incredible, really. That means that I've lost just under 32 pounds over the 3 months I've been fasting. I realize that I still have a ways to go yet, but I'm going to put up some pictures here so that you can see the difference between before I started and where I am at now. My fasting plan is adjusted quite a bit over these 3 months, and so I'm going to just break down what it is now. I am doing alternate day fasting, which means that I have a day where I don't eat, followed by a day where I eat normally. On my fasting day, I'm not eating at all. I'm drinking water and I'm drinking coffee with a little bit of cream in it, and sometimes I use erythritol as a sweetener. Not so that it's super sweet or anything, but just to cut some of the bitterness. I've just started to supplement with electrolytes, as I said, with a powder. But as that's really new, I expect that how I'm going to do that and what I get from it is going to change through the month. So I'll talk about it after I understand it a bit better. On my eating days, I'm having breakfast around 9 in the morning, and I'm doing a hard cutoff from eating at 10 p.m. You might be able to guess that I'm usually a pretty late bird. I'm aiming for low-carb mornings, so eggs without toast, etc., coffee until noon, and then at that point I'm just having pretty much whatever I like through the rest of the day, which tends to include Frappuccino-type drinks, sweets, and also a lot of normal healthy food too. So I don't have any hard and fast rules regarding food on my eating days. I'm not cutting anything specifically out, but I do have an overall mindset. So I know I will get better results if I don't overeat on my eating days, if I have moderate meal sizes. I also know that if I have less sugar or if I eat a bit low carb, then that will give me a better result. So that I know that I want to generally lean in that direction. And just some days I can do it much better than other days. Because I don't have a specific rule for this, there's no way that I can fail. So I don't finish my day thinking, I really ruined it. If I have less sugar or stuff like that on an eating day, great. If I have a ton of it, that's also fine. As I said, I'm not cutting out any specific foods because I am sure that as soon as I do, that my days of fasting are going to be numbered. It is much more valuable to me to have fasting be easier for me to continue with than it is to just get a quicker result initially. As I said earlier, this is going slower than many things that I've tried before, but at the same time, this is the first time that I can imagine continuing in this way without it having to end at some point. I can imagine getting to my ideal weight and then just continuing with fasting just enough to maintain it. I don't see that should be a problem at all. Also, I've never hit my ideal weight through dieting, and even as close as I ever got to it, I would just kind of bounce up in weight afterwards. Since I really don't want to bounce back to a high weight after doing this year of fasting, an important part of my system, an important part of my plan that I did from the very beginning is to not have any big change in what I eat. I don't want that to be a part of it at all. Now, I do have lots of weight loss milestones that I haven't hit yet, but as I pass each one, I'm definitely going to let you know what they are and that I've passed them. So if you're fasting, or if you're wanting to start fasting, I really encourage you to jump right in. This has been really a great experience for me so far, and it's really fun to have more and more people involved. As I'm getting more subscribers and more people are commenting, I'm finding lots of people are fasting and they're doing it in many, many different ways. I'm not a person that thinks that you need to have a prescribed specific way of doing something. I think we're all different and we have different lifestyles and different patterns of eating and all sorts of different things. And so you want something that works for you. I just want something that works for me. If it doesn't work for anybody else in the world, if it works for me, then I'm fine with it. I think that there's nothing wrong with being creative and using the tools and what works for you in order to just get what you want. And I'm seeing that in the comments with people and the methods that they're using to fast. It's really interesting for me, and it's really exciting to see. Anyway, that's the end of my video. Thanks so much for watching.